You are one decision away from a different life. Not a perfect life, not an easy life, but a life that's yours, a life you respect, a life that feels real when you wake up in the morning. Right now, maybe you're stuck. You feel trapped in a situation you didn't choose. Or maybe you did choose it, but now it no longer feels right. Maybe you've stayed too long in a job that kills your soul, in a relationship that no longer grows, in a place that keeps you small, around people who never understood you, not really. And now you're standing at a crossroads. One path is familiar, comfortable, safe, but it's killing your spirit a little more every day. The other path unknown, risky, lonely. But something inside you says, go, it's time. That voice inside you, that's your soul. It's not shouting, it's whispering. And if you keep ignoring it, it goes quiet. You start to numb, you start to settle. You start to believe that change is not for people like you. But here's the truth. Every strong person you admire was once exactly where you are. They stood at this same edge, with the same fear, the same doubt, and they made the choice to leap, not because they were fearless, but because they were tired of living halfway, tired of lying to themselves, tired of waiting for permission that never comes. And when they leaped, the world didn't become easier, but they became stronger. That is the way of the Stoic. Stoicism is not about pretending to be okay. It's about facing what is real, with strength, not excuses. It's about asking, like Marcus Aurelius did, at what moment are you going to demand the best of yourself? Not tomorrow, not next year. Now, you don't need motivation. You need clarity. You don't need approval. You need courage. You don't need someone to save you. You need to save yourself with one clear, powerful decision. And once that decision is made, you never give up. That's what this video is about. We'll show you the Stoic method of choosing your path with reason, not emotion. We'll show you how to stick to it, even when it gets hard. And we'll remind you that it's okay to feel fear, as long as you don't let fear make your choices. So if your heart is racing, if your mind is confused, if you feel lost but deep down you know you can't stay where you are, you're in the right place. Take a breath. Look ahead. The future is waiting for you to choose. Let's begin. One choice. That's all it takes. Not 100 choices, not a perfect 5-year plan, just one honest, clear, strong decision. That's how every powerful transformation begins. But here's the truth. Most people never make that one choice. They hesitate, they wait. They try to keep every door open. They're afraid of choosing wrong, so they choose nothing. And in doing nothing, they lose everything. Every day, you are making choices, whether you realize it or not. By saying yes to comfort, you say no to growth. By choosing silence, you choose to stay unheard. By putting off your dreams, you give more time to your fears. You think you're avoiding a hard decision, but in reality, you've already made one to stay the same. And that, the Stoics would say, is the most dangerous decision of all. Epictetus said, "You are not disturbed by events, but by your opinion of them." So what's your opinion of yourself? Do you believe you're capable, or have you convinced yourself that you're stuck? If you're stuck, maybe it's not your circumstances, maybe it's your story, the story that says, "I'm not ready. It's too late for me. I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm not strong enough." But Stoicism teaches this: you are stronger than you think. You just haven't chosen to be. One choice can break that story. One decision can say, No more lies, no more hiding, no more waiting. And that decision doesn't have to be loud. It can be made in silence, in a journal, on a walk, in a whisper to yourself at 2 a.m. when no one else is around. I'm going to change. That moment, right there, is when power returns to you. Because you realize you don't need permission, you don't need perfect timing, you don't need anyone to say, you can do it. You just need to say it to yourself. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, led armies, buried children, lost friends, and fought sickness, all while writing about peace and inner strength. He didn't control everything outside him, but he controlled what mattered, his attitude, his character, his decisions. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So ask yourself, what have you been giving your power away to? Fear, other people's opinions, memories that hurt you, comfort that slowly kills you? You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to reclaim your power by choosing one thing that your future self will thank you for, one small but brave act of self-respect. Maybe it's ending something that's already dead. Maybe it's starting something that feels impossible. Maybe it's having a hard conversation. Maybe it's applying for something even if you're scared of rejection. Whatever it is, do it. Choose it. The power of one choice is this: it shows you who you really are. Because who you are is not what you say, it's not what you hope for, it's what you do, especially when it's hard. A Stoic doesn't just wait for life to change, they decide to change. They don't rely on fate to fix them. They take responsibility and act with reason and courage. Seneca wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." But you don't need luck right now. You need honesty. You need clarity. You need to make one choice from your highest self, not your weakest fears. Imagine this. You're standing on a cliff. Behind you is your current life. Comfortable, known, but full of pain. Ahead of you is the unknown, terrifying, uncertain, but full of potential. Most people stay on the edge for years, looking, thinking, waiting. But the Stoic jumps, not because they're reckless, because they know this truth. The pain of staying stuck is worse than the fear of falling. And what if you fall? Then you rise, you learn, you adjust, you try again. That's strength, that's growth, that's stoicism. The power of one choice is not that it makes life easy, it's that it makes life real. It pulls you out of the fog and says, this is the path. Now walk it. You'll still be afraid sometimes, you'll still doubt yourself, but now you're moving. Now you're not a prisoner, now you're becoming someone you respect. That's the real reward. Because the purpose of this choice is not just success, it's becoming the kind of person who chooses truth over fear every single time. And the more you do that, the more your life changes, quietly, powerfully, forever. So don't wait. Make the choice, not next week, not after you feel ready. Now that's where your power lives, not in having all the answers, just in being brave enough to say, I'm done with the old story. I choose a new one, starting today. Making a hard decision can feel like being trapped between two walls. You think, if I go left, I lose something. If I go right, I might fail. So you stay in the middle, frozen, overthinking, waiting for a sign, hoping for certainty, praying that the fear will just disappear. But Stoicism teaches something different. Stoicism doesn't tell you to wait for fear to vanish. It tells you to walk forward anyway. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that fear does not get to lead your life. So how do Stoics make tough choices? They use three timeless tools: reason, virtue, and responsibility. They use reason over emotion. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That sounds simple, but it takes strength, because emotions lie. Fear says you can't. Anger says they deserve your rage. Sadness says it's hopeless. But reason? Reason steps back. It breathes. It looks at the situation from above, like a bird flying over a battlefield. It doesn't react. It responds. So before making a decision, a Stoic asks, what are the facts? What part of this is just my emotion talking? If I were giving advice to someone I loved, what would I say? This gives you space to think clearly. Emotion wants you to act fast. Reason helps you act right. And that's what Stoics aim for, not just action, but right action. They choose virtue over comfort. The Stoics taught that the only true good is virtue, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. So when facing a hard choice, the Stoic doesn't ask, what's easiest? They ask, what's right? For example, if you're stuck in a toxic job, the easy choice might be to stay, but the virtuous choice might be to leave, to protect your dignity and sanity. If you made a mistake, the easy path might be to hide it, but the virtuous choice is to take ownership and make it right. If someone hurts you, the easier path is revenge. The virtuous path is to forgive, not for them, but for your own peace. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every hard choice is that friction, a chance to polish your character, to become the kind of person even you admire. So ask yourself, does this choice align with who I want to be? Will I feel proud of this decision in 5 years? Virtue gives you direction. Even when the path is painful, you walk it because it's true. They take full responsibility. The Stoic does not blame the world. They don't wait for someone else to fix their life. They don't say, it's not fair or it's too late. They say, this is mine and I will face it. It doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means you respond to life with strength, not excuses. That's where the word responsibility comes from, the ability to respond. So when you're afraid to choose, ask, what am I afraid of owning? Where am I still waiting for someone else to rescue me? Your life is yours, not your parents', not your friends', not your past's. Every moment you hesitate, life is still moving forward, time is still passing, and the door in front of you, it's still open. The only thing missing is your decision to walk through it. Stoic detachment, letting go of what you can't control. Hard choices often feel heavy because of the things we can't control. What if they hate me for this decision? What if I fail? What if I lose money, status, love? And the Stoic answer is simple. Let go of what you can't control. Focus on what you can. You can't control how others react. You can't control every outcome. You can control your reason, your effort, your courage. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You do your best and then you release the rest, because in the end, the only real mistake is to live your whole life avoiding the very decisions that would set you free. Stoic action. Decide, then commit. Once a Stoic makes a choice with reason and virtue, they don't go back and forth. They don't ask for 20 opinions. They don't look for signs from the universe. They decide and they commit. And yes, it may still hurt. But there's a quiet power in it, a peace that says, I chose this, I accept this, I will grow from this. That's the Stoic path, not a life without pain, but a life where pain has purpose, not a life without fear, but a life where fear never makes the final decision. So if you're facing a hard choice right now, remember, use reason, not panic, choose virtue, not comfort, take responsibility, not blame, detach from outcomes, but commit to action. One strong decision can change everything, because it doesn't just change your life, it changes who you are. There is a prison that no one talks about. You don't see bars. There are no guards. You can walk out of it at any time, but most people never do. That prison is indecision. You stand in the hallway of your life facing two doors. You could go left, you could go right, but instead, you stay still. You say, I'm still thinking. I just need more time. Maybe something will become clear. And so, 1 week becomes a month, 1 month becomes a year, and a year becomes your life. You end up stuck in a loop, not because you're lazy or weak, but because your fear of choosing the wrong path is stronger than your desire to move forward. That's the trap of indecision. Why indecision feels safe. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that many people would rather suffer in hesitation than act with courage. Because as long as you don't choose, you can't fail. You can't be blamed. You can keep pretending that something better is just around the corner. You get to live in a fantasy where all paths are still possible. But here's the painful truth. When you try to keep every door open, you end up walking through none. You don't move forward. You don't grow. You don't change. You simply exist, trapped in a story of maybe, what if, and not yet. The Stoic diagnosis, indecision is a vice, not a virtue. Some people confuse indecision with wisdom. They say, I'm being careful. I'm just making sure. I'm weighing all options, but indecision isn't caution. It's fear, dressed in the clothes of logic. Seneca said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And what is the greatest waste? Living half-lives, starting things you never finish, promising yourself things you never do, telling yourself stories that feel good but go nowhere. Every day spent in indecision is a day you could have been building, learning, leading, loving, living. The Stoic doesn't confuse delay with depth. They know that action, guided by reason and virtue, is the only way to move from fear to strength. Indecision drains the soul. What happens when you stay stuck for too long? You become tired, not physically, but spiritually. You start to question yourself. Maybe I'll never know what to do. Maybe I'm not meant to be happy. Maybe I'm just broken. But the problem isn't you. It's the way you treat decisions like monsters instead of tools. Stoicism says nothing is good or bad except how we respond to it. So the decision you're afraid to make, it's not the problem. Your relationship with it is. You've made it heavy. You've told yourself it's life or death. You've convinced yourself there's a perfect option and a disaster. But in truth, most decisions are just this: a step forward or another day of silence. And when you don't choose, life chooses for you. It gives you a default path, a job you didn't want, a relationship that drains you, a life full of maybes and regrets. What Stoics do instead. So how do the Stoics escape the trap? They act. They gather the facts, they reflect quietly, and then they move forward, even if the path isn't guaranteed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is in your control, act. If it is not, accept it." That's it. Clarity doesn't come from waiting. Clarity comes from walking. Because once you take a step, even a small one, you learn. You find out what works. You adjust. You grow. But when you're frozen, you learn nothing. You only repeat the fear. You can't think your way into a new life. This is hard to hear, but it's true. You will never think your way into a new life. You have to act your way into one. You can journal about your goals for years. You can talk about your dreams to everyone you meet. But until you make the choice, the uncomfortable, courageous, imperfect choice, nothing changes. The Stoics didn't believe in waiting for motivation. They believed in discipline. They believed that the mind becomes stronger through action, not overthinking. So if you want to get out of this trap, you must practice doing the very thing you fear, choosing, even when it's hard, even when it's uncertain, even when you don't feel ready. Because the truth is, no one ever really feels ready, but strong people act anyway. What you can do today, if you're trapped in indecision right now, here's what you can do. Write down the decision, make it real. Don't carry it around in your head. List what's in your control and what isn't. Ask which option aligns with courage, justice, or truth. Make a small action plan. A first step, something you can do in the next 24 hours. Commit. And don't look back unless you're learning. This doesn't mean it won't hurt, but it does mean you won't be stuck anymore. And that's worth everything. A new way to live. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing, I made a real choice. I'm not afraid anymore. That's what Stoicism offers you. Not comfort, not guarantees, but the deep, quiet pride that comes from choosing your path and walking it with your head held high. So ask yourself, what have you been putting off? What truth have you been avoiding? What decision could set you free? And then choose it, because in the end, the only thing worse than making the wrong decision is making none at all. One day, you'll look back on this moment, and it won't just be another Tuesday, another night of thinking, another hour wasted in confusion. It will be the day everything changed, the day you finally decided. Most people think life changes in loud, dramatic moments like movies, but that's not true. Real life changes in quiet moments, in the silence of your room. When you say to yourself, I can't live like this anymore, and more importantly, I won't. That's the moment you meet your future self, the one who's been waiting for you to be brave, the one who's already stronger, clearer, more focused, just on the other side of this choice. That version of you, they exist, but they can't reach you, not until you choose. The Stoics knew this truth well. They believed that we are made and revealed by our choices, especially the hard ones. Marcus Aurelius didn't become great because he was emperor. He became great because he chose to lead with reason when others led with ego. He chose virtue when he could have chosen revenge. He chose the harder path every time, and it made him one of the wisest men in history. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." What he meant was, the more you wait, the heavier the decision feels. But when you finally choose, even if it hurts, the weight lifts, because indecision is suffering. It's a slow death. You think you're playing it safe, but really, you're stuck in a prison with the door wide open. The Stoic chooses to walk out, not because they know what's next, but because they refuse to stay stuck in a place that crushes their soul. Ask yourself right now, what am I clinging to that no longer serves me? What do I already know I need to do but keep avoiding? What kind of person do I want to be when no one is watching? That last question is important because your decision might not bring applause. It might not be understood. It might not be celebrated by the world, but it will define you. When you say, I'm done pretending, when you say, I'm choosing myself even if it costs me, when you say, I'll suffer now to grow later, that is the moment you step into your real life. And no, it doesn't get easy after that. There will be fear, there will be doubt, there will be pain, but you will carry it differently because it's no longer the pain of staying stuck, it's the pain of becoming someone greater. A Stoic doesn't fear pain, they respect it. They understand that growth lives on the other side of discomfort, and so they choose that discomfort on purpose. You don't need to know how the whole story ends, you just need to take the next brave step, because you're not only deciding what to do, you're deciding who to become. That's what Stoicism teaches us, that our identity is not fixed. You're not just the kind of person who always fails. You're not too soft, nor too weak, too broken, or too late. You're not your past. You're not your pain. You are who you choose to be right now. So make the decision to leave, to begin, to forgive, to try again, to finally stop waiting for someone to come save you, because no one is coming. You are the one you've been waiting for. And when you make that choice, when you truly say yes to change and no to staying the same, that becomes a sacred line in your life. Before that day, confusion, hesitation, regret. After that day, purpose, movement, meaning. You will still fall. You will still get tired. But you won't quit. Because once a Stoic makes a decision with reason, virtue, and courage, they don't look back. They walk forward, head high, eyes clear, not needing guarantees, just the will to keep going. That decision will define you, not because you did it perfectly, but because you did it anyway. And that is enough. Life will test you. It already has. But when you live by Stoic wisdom, you pass those tests with clarity and courage. Don't wait for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. So take the step. Say yes. Say no. Say goodbye. Say hello. Whatever the decision, make it with your full heart and rational mind, then never look back. The Stoics believed that fate and reason walk hand in hand. What is meant for you will come, but only if you're willing to meet it halfway. So stand tall. Decide with courage, act with discipline, endure with grace. That is the Stoic way. That is your way now. Thank you for watching. If this helped you make your decision, share this message, and never forget, one decision can change your life. Make it count.